Hey everybody, Matt with Freestand here. Got a special guest on the show today, Jewel Elizabeth, who is the creator of Become Yoga School, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
Nailing it.
Just want to make sure I got that right. And Jewel started this. It was your business is kind of a pandemic baby, right?
It is. That's a great way to put it. Totally a
Right.
pandemic baby.
Okay. And so, Jewel, I think if you could just give us a little background about kind of what you were doing prior to the pandemic, how you got involved in yoga in the first place,
hmm
and then kind of how Become Yoga School came about or became what it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are totally a pandemic baby. I think a lot of us in fitness or movement, dance, yoga, HIIT classes, whatever you teach, when New York shut down for the pandemic, we were some of the strongest hit industries. We actually just opened a couple weeks ago after restaurants were opened, movies were reopened, et cetera. So a lot of us found ourselves in March of 2020 suddenly with nowhere to go and especially if you're a teacher, you're used to like talking to people, being in
Right.
front of the people. And then suddenly we had no people or we had nowhere to be. So I have done mentorship programs before and created them for different brands like Equinox and Fit House. I've been a Carbon 38 and Athleta ambassador. And this was kind of an idea in the back of my head that I just never really had time to dive into. So once we all found ourselves at home, I was like, maybe I'll start to bring this idea to fruition. And I did a ton of research. I wrote a 300-page manual. I made 21 different chapters and videos for our online yoga teacher training program.
300-page manual. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a lot. And it's funny to look back now. Like, I think in May and June of 2020, I was literally pulling like 14 to 16-hour days, just typing away, like a real professional author. And I was like, how is this my life?
Right.
But I think, that was kind of the beauty of this downtime, was that this was something I probably could have done all along, that I was interested in doing, but I never had the time to do it. So when you're suddenly at home with nothing to do, it was like, hey, make the thing happen. And then we
Right.
brought it to life.
That's awesome. So was Become Yoga School, was that something that you were doing in person beforehand, or were you working in another industry? What happened before you started the virtual piece?
Yeah, so I had created a mentorship program like this for Equinox about 3 years prior. And that same thing, like wrote the whole thing, came up with the systems, but then sold it to them. I was working for them full time. And then that was really successful. It still exists to this day. It's my original baby and I love it. So,
Got it.
but then I left there and I just started teaching other places. I was more of like an independent instructor for the past few years. And I was missing that teaching teachers element.
Ah, that's what I
So
was missing. Okay, so you're instructing other instructors on how to be
yes,
successful yoga teachers. Right.
100%. So
Okay,
if
got it.
you've never taught before in your life, you can take our program. And our goal is by graduation day, by your third graded video teach back, that you're like slaying the game, feeling super confident. What I heard a lot as a talent manager and someone who auditioned talent and would choose whether or not they stayed or they went, a lot of times I'd be shocked by people who just spent thousands of dollars on programs like yoga teacher training, and they would not know how to hold their voice, how to command the room, how to speak anatomically, how to, tell a nice light story when the room feels very heavy, or vice versa. If it's too
Right.
light and fluffy, ground them down, tell them, something a little more esoteric.
It's really an art form, it sounds like.
Oh, 100%. It's an art form and a bit of like a scientific skill. Like I
Yeah.
was saying, like any good storyteller, any public speaker knows, like, if you want to create drama, pause.
Right.
If you want to have excitement, you raise your voice. If you want to bring them down, but also just about how to sequence a class, what poses you should be putting in, why this might be too much, this might not be enough. And then also all the basics of how to run a business, especially now that so many of us have started online and gone independent. I thought it was really, really important to teach people, if you have no network yet, if you don't have a base of students, how do you get people into your class? How do you sell it or get members in if you're doing it for donation or charity, or set a price point on it if that's how you want to run your business, so that people can feel really confident in what they're offering to the world.
Gotcha. That's really, really cool. Yeah. And I feel like, like, especially with virtual, it's probably like even more important that people
Mhm.
like learn how to keep their voice up and like command the room over Zoom and stuff like that. Cause
Yeah.
it's gotta be probably more challenging than in person. Right.
You know what? It's been interesting. So I've been teaching on Zoom for over a year now, and I think they both have their pros and cons. Some of the cons of Zoom is the audio is a little less supported, shall we say. And if you want to play music, you have to do a lot of workarounds to get your voice going and the music going. On the other hand, New York is an amazing town, but a lot of people stay here for a limited amount of time. And I have had students who live in Denver. This morning, I was teaching people in California and Hawaii.
Wow.
Without this online platform, you limit yourself to who is physically near you.
Right.
And online, you can open it up to anyone.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the biggest thing. I think one is like time and convenience, and then two is just like distance. Like
Yeah,
you could literally teach anybody in the world. Before, like, you'd have to teach somebody within the 5 boroughs.
exactly. And I don't miss the commute to Midtown in any way. I
Yeah,
do love, this is my living room. I love walking here in the morning,
it's
teaching my
awesome.
classes, doing a video teach back, and, really easy commute.
It's awesome. And it's Fort Greene.
Mhm.
Fort Greene. Okay. So I'm in Williamsburg for everybody listening. So we're actually like 10 minutes apart. And we found that out right before we hopped on the call,
Right
which is
before we
funny.
hopped on the call.
um,
New York is at all times like a major cosmopolitan city and also just a small town.
it's so small in certain
You run
ways.
into people on the street or you have a mutual friend and you just connect
Right.
in some way. So it's really wonderful.
You'll be in like the most densely populated area of Manhattan, and you'll just like see somebody and it's like, how did that happen?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it happens more often than not. So in terms of like when the pandemic, well, I guess my first question is like, when you're working with people, first of all,
Mhm.
how do you find all of these different yoga instructors? And is it just yoga instructors mostly, or is that your
Right.
niche?
That's kind of our niche. Right now, it's only yoga instructors. We are also working on a Pilates program that will hopefully come out later in the year. But there's a really huge market of yoga instructors and also people who want to become yoga instructors. There are also, I just had a coaching call with someone this morning. There are a lot of yoga teachers who've attended a yoga teacher training course, but feel like something was missing from that course. So sometimes I'll do like one-on-one coaching of just, like how to fill the room, how to get a gig with your dream studio, how to make sure if you're doing a group audition with 30 people that you can stand out and make sure that you're memorable and make sure that you're saying the right things. It's a job interview like everything else. For normal jobs, there are coaches that help you with that interview.
Yeah.
So we also try to help teachers land that. And then, we have an Instagram, we have a YouTube. It's been really, really, YouTube is another one. It's been really, really great to get comments from people in like Latvia. We have a yoga teacher training client right now who is in Brazil. He lives in the forest. He literally lives in the Amazon. And he has to drive about 20 miles to get Wi-Fi to do his online sessions. And it's just like
Oh my God, that's
it's
crazy.
amazing the commitment, and I think that's what's great about the online surge as well is he lived in such a remote location, a rural location, that there wasn't a yoga studio around.
Right.
So if it weren't for programs like Become Yoga School, he could never teach yoga. He could never have that immersion that we're giving him. So it's been really, really a blessing.
That's amazing. Yeah. And also people like customers get access to work out with somebody who's in Brazil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, as opposed to just being restricted to somebody in their town.
Yeah. And also like, I think there's a lot of happy accidents. We have 2 Brazilians right now. One is actually in the States. She lives here. And when it happened that both of them showed up at the same live teach back, it was like, they were speaking in Portuguese. None of us spoke Portuguese. And I think for her being away from home, it was really enriching to meet that person. And for him being like so detached from everyone, living in a very secluded area, it was also nice to have that communication. And they were probably 3,000 or 4,000 miles apart from each other. So
That's awesome.
It's really fun to witness.
And how are these people finding you? So they find you through Instagram, or are you doing more like direct marketing, like reaching out to people like you yourself on Instagram, being like, hey, like, I think you should join our classes. How do you approach sales and marketing?
That's really smart. We should look into that.
That's how I do it.
Really? Tell
I
me
just,
more.
I'll,
Teach me.
I will just look up like hashtag virtual yoga teacher or
Hmm.
virtual fitness or whatever it is, and then I'll just go through that hashtag and just look at everybody who's posting under that hashtag,
That's
and then
really
I'll just DM people, and I'll take like I have like one standard message that I send, and I just put their name in front. Hey,
hmm
blank, put their name in, standard message, and I'll just send out like 50.
That's amazing. That
Yeah,
will be
it's
on my
easy.
to-do list. I love that. For the most part, we've found a lot of people through YouTube because YouTube is a really, really powerful search engine. And also YouTube is a little bit Instagram, but a lot in YouTube. People go to YouTube and look up, how do I do yoga? How do I
Right.
become a yoga teacher? So we've been very active on there. But honestly, Instagram has probably been our number one platform. People DM me all the time on Instagram and just want to know more information, and then we've had a good group of graduates in the past 8 months, and there's been some pretty good word of mouth. So a lot of times someone will say, oh, I know Veronica, I'd also like to know more information about how to sign up.
Right. That's awesome. And I feel like in fitness, especially, like there's just everybody's connected. So that word of mouth is just
Yeah.
great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about like yoga, fitness, anything, it's a lifestyle and it's a very personal practice where very few people just do yoga and like forget about it. It becomes part of their lifestyle. We talk about the 8 limbs of yoga, and which is kind of just generally like be a good person, have ethics, be honest, stuff like that. So even after your asana practice, like doing yoga poses, you leave, and for the rest of the day, we're hopefully like elevating our ethics and our honesty and all of that. So I think when people feel touched in that way, they want to share it with
Share
someone
it.
else
Yeah.
because it really made an impact on their lives.
That's awesome. And when things start to calm down with the pandemic, and people go back into classes, do you plan on training all of your instructors virtually still? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think what's been great is I've worked online for a while and I really love it. I've been the talent on a few major fitness platforms, like online streaming platforms. And what I learned in that was how you can reach people across the world. And it's so rewarding to have such a
Right.
broader network than just who you meet in person. I think we are going to try to do one in New York City in the fall, hopefully, but I don't want to give up the virtual aspect of it or the online aspect of it because I think it's just such a great platform to meet people from all walks of life all over the map.
100%. Yeah. And you can do this hybrid model, which a lot of
Yeah.
people, it seems like a lot of people are kind of going to adopt that.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially in yoga in like New York and LA, hybrid is kind of the norm now. If you, I take, I always say a great teacher is always a student. So I'll still pop in and take a class in Texas or California or wherever, just because it works for my schedule. And they will have a video camera in the studio where there's live people in the studio, and then they have a few people on Zoom. So
oh, that's
that's kind of
awesome.
become the norm right now.
Yeah. And if you're living in New York or you're living in LA, you can do it. If you live like in the middle of the country, you know what I mean? It's got to be all virtual. Yeah, I feel like, right? Like you're not going to be able to put together a
Uh,
big group of people in South Dakota
I
of
mean, it
yoga. I
depends. It
guess it
depends.
depends.
What the
It's advantageous
behind the
to be in New
scenes.
York.
It never hurts,
Never hurts. There's a
except
lot.
for when you pay your rent. But aside from that, it never
Right.
hurts to live in New York.
There's a lot of people here. It's good.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so you're going to continue this virtual thing. That's awesome. I mean, that's everybody I interview. I hope it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think for a lot of us in the yoga world, it has been historically a very local activity, and it's always about finding a guru in your neighborhood.
right,
But I think in a very positive way, the past year has impacted us to kind of open our horizons and say, what if you did it online? What if you bought a camera? What if you got some nice lights? What if you started teaching people in Brazil or Moscow or Latvia?
right.
What if? And once we all got our ducks in a row and started doing it, it was like, oh, we can do this. There's no reason why it needs to be so brick and mortar and so local. We could also broaden it across.
Right. And when you say we, is it just you or do you have a partner? Is this a solo show?
Oh, so Become Yoga School, it's not a solo show, thank goodness, because there's so much work to do. But Many days. I actually have an assistant, and I was talking to her the other day, and she was basically like, can you get me this logo? We're going to put it on a photo. Can you get me the logo in the photo? And I tell people, I was like, I'm the art department. I'm the marketing department. I'm the accounting department. I approve the website. Of course, I've made all the content in the course. But we also I have two people that help me with graphics and stuff like that. I have a website engineer. And then we have a group of guest mentors. So we do a live video teach back in the course every week. And it's offered at different times, so people in different time zones can find one that fits for them. And we have a rotating roster of guest mentors, which are just different teachers I've known from across the world. I also think like it's really nice to have different points of view in both ways, meaning like if we have 5 guest mentors, you hopefully get 5 different sets of notes. And then also I think it's really impactful for the student that if we have 5 guest mentors and they all say the same thing, it really resonates with you of like, this isn't just someone's opinion. It's not random. Right. It is, you know, a conversation. It's real stuff. And I should apply that to what I've been doing or congratulate myself because 5 people in the field are saying I'm doing really, really great.
Right. That's awesome. And in terms of like the dynamic of like signing up and everything and kind of like the whole structure, I guess, of the course, like, are these like 4-week courses, 8-week courses? Is this like an ongoing thing? Kind of what's the structure there? And then also you said like you have a website. Do you have people that like sign up through the website and then you meet over Zoom? Kind of how's everything structured?
So all of the above is true. Our website is becomeyogaschool.com. And if you sign up for our 200-hour yoga teacher training course, it is completely self-paced. However, I knew as someone who only lives by deadlines that a lot of times if you don't have a deadline, you will not ever do anything. So we built into that self-paced course 3 different graduation timelines, which are pretty standard in the yoga world. There's a 30-day timeline, a 60-day timeline, and a 90-day timeline. So say you want to, for some reason, you have a lot of free time and you really want to get your yoga certification and you have 5 or 6 hours per day for a month, you could sign up for that 30-day timeline. Say that, you know, you're working a full-time job, you have kids, whatever it is, and you need something that's only like 3 hours per week. Right. We have the 90-day timeline. And then of course you honestly could finish the course at any point. You could take a year to do it, which some people do. But I thought it was really important to give people some kind of guidelines to keep them accountable and keep them showing up, because it's one of the struggles, I guess I could say, in the online space is it's very easy. Like I've heard a lot of kids in school, they'll just shut their cameras off and you can't really tell them not to shut their cameras off. Yeah. And who knows what they're doing? You know, we're all grown adults, but I think it's really nice to give people some accountability and let them know, like, the more you show up, the easier it's going to get. The more you show up, you're going to make more connections. You're going to meet more guest mentors.
The more you're going to get out of it in general. Yeah.
Exactly. You're going to get more out of it the more you show up. The same way as if we were in the physical studio and you were supposed to meet 4 weekends, but you only showed up 1, you would get less out of it than someone who showed up 4. So for me, it was really important to make it self-paced so that anyone could do it when it works for their life, but to also give them some guidelines to keep people accountable and keep them showing up.
So if it's self-paced and you're doing live sessions, how does that work?
The course material is pre-recorded, those 21 chapters. Those are all pre-recorded. And then every week we teach a live video teach back that we offer unlimited. So if it worked for your time zone and you wanted to come to 4 a month, you would come to 4 a month. If it doesn't work for your life, or you only want to, if you're on a slower program, you're going to take a year, you're only going to come once a month, you have that opportunity. So same thing, just finding that balance between giving people flexibility, but also saying, hey, we're having a meeting. We hope you can join. The more you're here, the better you get.
No, that works perfectly. I mean, with the playback, they can just kind of design it around their own schedule, and then they just need to be there once a week, or not even.
Exactly. And in yoga, there's a lot of historical text. So a lot of it, there's probably 50 hours of just reading these historical texts. So we don't need to be on a live Zoom call while you read.
So are you certifying people in becoming like a yoga instructor? Is 100%. Is there like a board, like, is there like a sanctioned thing about this? Or is it kind of like there's a bunch of different types that you can become? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. So there is pretty much the most recognized international governing board is called Yoga Alliance. And we actually just got approved by Yoga Alliance. So we now can offer that stamp of approval. So if you are a general, like 200 hours, kind of the mainstream prerequisite to be a yoga teacher, that certification. And if you got that certification, you'd be called a certified yoga teacher. If you then take it to the next level and get registered with Yoga Alliance, you can become a registered yoga teacher. But both of those are really, really great credentials. We're really fascinated that we're able to offer both of them. There are some industries, or some markets, I should say, that you have to be Yoga Alliance certified. They won't even let you in the door or look at your resume unless you have that registration. So it was really important for us also to ensure that we got that. And that's something we're going to start offering next month.
That's awesome. And are most of the people that are coming to you, are these people that are looking to get certified usually, or is it people that are already certified and they're like, I would just want to become a better teacher?
Most of them are people who haven't been certified yet. We actually, thanks for asking, we are working on a program that would be a little more geared towards someone who already has a certification but wants a little up leveling in their skills. Hopefully that will come out this year as well. But for the most part, we're getting people who are really interested in yoga, have always wanted to be a yoga instructor, but either didn't have the time or the location, like a yoga studio near them that they truly believed in. So we're happy to offer that opportunity for them, you know, on their schedule, wherever they might be.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think that you could give certifications out online, but it sounds like you definitely can.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
for us, that's also why the live aspect was really important to us, because I do believe that if you just took the course and watched all the videos and read all the text, you would learn a lot and you'd know it. But that moment where you know people are watching you, when your peers are giving you feedback, that's where you really grow as a teacher. That's, you know, when the stakes are a little higher is when like your highest brain kind of clicks in.
Right.
So that's why it's important. You will not graduate our course unless you pass 3 video teachbacks.
I was going to say, so what do the video teachbacks include? Are they you one-on-one asking somebody a question and saying, hey, like, are you observing them like while they're trying to do like a mock class? What is that?
They are doing a full class, and they're doing it for all the other teacher trainees. And then I'm always at everyone. And then I try to have like 2 to 3 guest mentors as well, which is also great. Like I said, there's 4 every month. So it'll be a different person the first week, a different guest mentor the second week. So if you came to all 4, you're getting like 12 different professional points of view. And then however many of your peers show up as well.
Awesome.
And people will teach a little bit. They either create their own sequencing, or we have a little bit of a choreographed piece that they could do if they prefer that. And then we all kind of huddle up and say, here's what I thought. Here are places where I think you could have elevated it. This was really fantastic. You should do more of that. I loved your voice. I love the things you said. I love the poses you chose. And I think that, you know, ping pong feedback is really, really valuable for teachers.
Yeah, that's really, and how many people are signed up, like, or generally come through your courses?
We're at a few hundred right now and growing every day. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think, you know, in the past, well, one, I think we're doing a good thing. I think our program, I really believe in it. But also a lot of people in the past year, you know, they've kind of also had the opportunity to invest time.
The market's blown up.
The market is blown up and people just have the time, you know. I think, you know, I'm not an uncommon story of, I always had this idea and I just never had the time or motivation to make it happen. I made it happen. And a lot of people are feeling that about, you know, becoming a yoga teacher. Maybe they're an accountant and they're like, I kind of never enjoyed being an accountant. I'd love to be a yoga teacher. They finally took that leap.
Yeah. They call it the passion economy. Is what they're calling
it. The passion I haven't heard that one.
I'll send you some stuff to read up about it, but it's right up your alley for what you're doing.
I'm probably everyone that signs up for our course is in the passion economy.
Yeah. Or they're trying to enter the passion economy essentially.
Yeah. And that's a big thing in yoga. Like no one becomes a yoga teacher because it's like, oh, I like the benefits, or, you know, they have a great 401k at that yoga studio. It's like, no, like I'm here for the passion of it. I'm here because I believe in it. It touched my life in some way. And I want to share it with others.
And the thing about the virtual piece is like everybody was restricted to either work underneath the studio or, you know, they had to open up their own studio, which obviously costs a lot of money. Yeah. So not that many people were able to do it. But with the virtual piece, I mean, it's limitless. I mean, all you need is a yoga mat. You need to have the knowledge and be a good teacher and have a yoga mat and a computer. You know, it's just exploded everything. So
yeah, I think it's been, you know, a really great opportunity for people to just try new things and see what happens, and, you know,
Right.
dive head in, make it happen, see what sticks.
And the barrier to entry is just nothing compared to what it was. Um, in
No,
terms
or
in terms of
like what
getting
you were,
trained and being a
yeah,
good teacher, obviously that's the same. But in terms of
yeah.
like setting up shop, very different, you know.
Very different. And also, like, I've never wanted to own my own studio because I've managed studios. I know the financial investment, I know the logistical. Even like, I actually opened a studio in New York City, not my own studio, but for someone else, I opened their studio, and we were put back 6 months just waiting on permits, being like,
Right.
we're here, the staff is here, we're ready to do our thing, but we can't get authorization to build this wall, you know, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And you don't need authorization from anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Zoom is about, I think, $14.99 a month right now.
Uh-huh.
And you can get, you
This is
know,
free. This one.
this is, oh, really?
Yeah, but this is because I only do one-on-one things. But the second you get like 3 people, I think, then you have to pay. Otherwise, they cut you out after like
Right.
30 minutes. Anyway,
Or that's
go
a
ahead.
great thing for people who go through our certification program. You could do one-on-one private yoga sessions. Like you said, $0 on Zoom. You're not even investing in that. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, your heart and soul and spirit, but $0 to house you. So that's a
It's
great
crazy.
element.
Yeah. The rent is very cheap.
The rent is very cheap.
It's very cheap. And in terms of how much it costs, if somebody wants to sign up, how much does it cost? And are
Yeah,
there
so
different price points, or is it one flat fee for?
there's really only one price, but we also offer a payment plan. And if you pay in full, it's 25% off. So right now, I hope my numbers are right, I think the full price program is $899. And then we have a 3 payment plan if that's more comfortable for you. I believe the 3 payments are a little over $300. So you save 25% if you do the full payment.
Yeah, gotcha. And so $899. How many people? So you said there was a couple hundred people. Is that a
Mhm.
couple hundred people since you started last year, or is that a couple hundred people like in one rotation? It's also on a moving scale, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't. So
It's on a moving basis because it's self-paced, which is one thing I personally love and I like really work towards. Historically in studios, it would be like, oh, from June 8th to September 14th, this is when your yoga teacher training course is.
right.
But then that really limits you because what if you're in your 3rd trimester on June 18th?
Yeah.
What if you're
having a
starting
kid.
college? Exactly. What if it's your first day of freshman year on September 8th? You know, whatever it is.
Right.
So it was really important to me to do the self-paced aspect. But then we do try to build community within it too, that if you're kind of at the beginning of the program, you might meet someone who's in the middle of the program, but you'll both be showing up to the same teach back. So you'll have a little bit of
Gotcha.
camaraderie there. But yeah, that's how many people we've had since the beginning. We launched kind of our behind the scenes friends and family launch was in June. And then we did an official launch in September of 2020.
That's amazing. And in terms of community, do you guys have like some type of place where everybody can like talk, ask questions, like any like Facebook group or anything like that you have set up?
Yeah. So we use a platform called Kajabi, which is like a main
I've heard
online
of Kajabi.
course. Yeah. It's basically a platform for online courses, and they have a feature in there that's literally called Community, and it's very similar to a Facebook group. So what's great is you don't have to go to a second place to go have that community and talk
It's
to your
all
friends
in one spot.
or ask questions. If you're logged into the student portal, you just click on Community and there you are, which I also think is great because say you're in the middle of a chapter and you're like, I have a question about the Bhagavad Gita and I'd like to know what someone thinks about the Yoga Sutras. You can go right into the community. You don't have to log out, log into Facebook, find it there, you know.
Right. It's just nice to have everything in one spot too. For
nice to have
you
everything.
especially, I feel like, just being able to look at everything in kind of one area.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's interested, if anyone out there is making online courses, Kajabi is definitely hands down the best place to do it because I've only been on Kajabi, but I've heard from other people that if you use this platform, your website is here, your course is there, your blog is here, your checkout page is there, and you have to monitor all these websites. Where on Kajabi, it's all in one place. I have one login to Kajabi. I can check on all my students, see who's passed an assessment, see who hasn't logged in a while, see who's been logging in a lot, go into that community, answer questions. It's all right there for me.
And is Kajabi mostly for courses or is it for it's mostly for courses, right?
You can do anything with it. Like our website is also on Kajabi, like the public facing website and then the student facing student portal. Some people use it just as a website, but it is much more expensive, obviously, because of all the bells and whistles it has, than like a Wix or a Squarespace or something.
Right.
But it's primarily made for people who want to create online courses.
Got it. That's really cool. So you have your website and then you have your own individual online student portal. And that's like in that portal, is that where they like, go to like this week's lesson, they click on that, open it up, and you just load everything in there kind of?
Yep, absolutely. So there's 21 chapters that are all pre-recorded and the text is in there. And then you also have like your physical teacher training manual. And then on some of those chapters, you have to turn in assignments. So you can also upload different things. Like we have a thing called an asana sheet. Asana is a yoga pose. So you will break down a pose like downward facing dog and say, here are the technical cues you want to say. Here's like the energetic cues you want to say. Here is where you would use it in a class and what the base of it is. And they write that all down on one of our asana sheets and then they upload it to the portal and then all their homework gets checked as we move along.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And how much is Kajabi a month?
They have 3 payment plans. I believe the lowest one is $149 a month, but they also have an annual that's cheaper. And the other 2 tiers are maybe $199 and $299. So like I said, if you just wanted a website, it's kind of, I think Squarespace is like $14.99.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So I don't know if Kajabi would
it
be
accomplishes
for you,
a totally different thing. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also like we have all our chapters are in there, all our videos are in there, all of our downloads, like the documents we give you are hosted there, and then all of the uploads come back to us as well. Like that you can't do on a normal website. You need something that was built for courses.
And do you meet live with your students through that, or do you do it through Zoom and then send them a message through there? How does that work?
Yeah, we do it through Zoom, and they just get like a calendar invite, like the same way you sent me one.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. I've heard of Kajabi, but I haven't talked to anybody who's used it. So.
Yeah, it's a really great platform, and again, I said it's the only one I've used, but they also have a Facebook group. So like a lot of times you have questions. How do I get this icon on there? Right now I'm working on putting a footer with different links to articles on the bottom. So we'll go to the Kajabi Facebook group, and a lot of people say like, thank God Kajabi exists, because I was using, Shopify or Wix or WordPress. A lot of people said WordPress is really hard to navigate.
It is very difficult I have that.
Yeah. You use WordPress.
Yeah, I'm switching over though to something else.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I've heard from a lot of people that they're like, WordPress is great, but you have to finagle a few things.
Right.
So Kajabi, I think the CEO of Kajabi said, let's make something just for online courses where like we have quizzes and assessments and uploads, like I said, that's not available in like Squarespace. Like you would have to custom code it, where Kajabi says, here's how you make a quiz. We know you're doing a course.
2 seconds.
So it's exactly, a quiz might be important to you. Just fill in the questions.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Jewel, I think we covered it all. Is there anything else that you want to get out there to the people?
Follow us on Instagram at Become Yoga School, or on the YouTubes. I drop a new yoga video or teaching tip video every Wednesday. YouTube.com/C/Become Yoga School. Or check us out at becomeyogaschool.com.
Becomeyogaschool.com, right?
That's us.
Okay. I'm going to make sure to include all that in this. Otherwise, I think we covered it all. So Jewel, thank you. And
thank you.
Yeah, we'll catch up soon. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Become Yoga School, everybody. Peace.